This is Europe today. Not perfect, not finished, but alive. Every street tells a story. Every person carries a different future. But what will Europe look like in 50 years? What will the EUI look like in 50 years? We asked the people who shape it every day. Researchers, students, staff, people behind the scenes. We asked them all to imagine Europe when we won't be here anymore. Different answers, same uncertainty.
It's a good question. No, guys, I don't have any idea. I have to be honest.
Well, that's a good question, Alex. It's a very good question.
Europe has always changed. Through crises, through ideas, through people. So what will guide it this time? Maybe the future is built right here, with questions, research, and everyday work. Not with big speeches, but with small decisions of everyday people.
Ciao, mi chiamo Andrea.
Soy Salvador. My name is William Sims.
Mi nombre es Esteban Escusarello.
Bonjour, je m'appelle Marthelène.
Buongiorno, mi chiamo Antonio Maria De Micco.
Shukran, اسم تاعي مايويل جيمس.
Bonjour, je m'appelle Mélodie.
Ciao, sono Andrea Sacchettini.
Hola, mi nombre es Sofía.
Hi, my name's Mediha.
Sono Elena Marro.
Sono Marcello Recchia.
Cześć, nazywam się Martyna.
Ciao, sono Paolo Mantechini. I'm holding a time capsule that will be opened by 2076. And inside there's going to be a lot of messages and hopefully a lot of messages of hope.
Do you think universities are still going to exist in 50 years?
I think that absolutely universities will continue to exist in 2076. They are a fundamental force for good, for the creation of new knowledge, for the proliferation of current knowledge, and for the preparation and education of tomorrow's society. And I think that ultimately universities provide a valuable and integral service, not just to our economies in a very physical way, but in a very spiritual way for the betterment of every single human on earth.
I do believe it will. A lot of people might assume that AI will take over and that we will be able to educate our children through platforms and through, basically our computers. I think that the presence of human in general, the contact with people, the social aspect of it, and will always be a very important component in learning and in researching, and that the human component cannot really be replaced by something else.
I believe evolutions take place, but still the practical part that is taught by those who have the skill can always exist. And I think maybe 2076, I believe universities will still exist, but maybe in a different dimension.
They've been there for a good 1,000 years, so I guess that they will resist another 50. Whether the EUI will resist another 50 years, hard to say.
Maybe universities as we know them now will not exist in the sense of what they are kind of organized around, what kind of substance they teach, but I think education will remain an important part of civilization.
In your opinion, what will students be learning about in 50 years?
Students will be studying topics that are actually beyond the EU.
It will still be very important to study international relations in a time where perhaps international law and geopolitics has gone through some difficult times. So the subjects that we are studying here today that we deem important will be still very, very studied at the time.
Sure that military technology will continue to remain at the front of the educational agenda, because we always need improvements on military, the way things are going.
I hope that the students in 2076 will be learning primarily how to think critically, and how to back what they say with factual data.
I guess that there will be a lot of research on scarcity on the lack of order, food, water. Probably technology will be much more into daily life, more than what it is actually, so probably that will also penetrate into research. And I guess that human mobility will still exist because it's been here for a good 4,000 years, so in 50 years we will still be conducting research on migration.
Mixture of new topics that in this moment we cannot even dream of, and old topics that have been evolving, and some some faster than others, but they are whose genesis is already among us.
I don't know, I think that people will learn with AI, and so a lot of the things that we used to do that is just purely cognition, just remembering about facts, that will not necessarily be the main focus anymore, and that you would probably learn how to implement skills practically in a way that is different from just restitution of knowledge.
What should the ideal university of the future look like, according to you?
To me, less elitists and more open to the public, more open to collaborate with other institutions and organizations, and as I said before, less elitist.
So according to me, the ideal university of the future should be really focused on critical thinking and develop a higher and more structured cross-cutting bridge between practitioners and academia.
The ideal university of the future should have a diversity of people with a culture that supports that diversity and an institutional structure that does that.
In my opinion, the ideal university of the future should be less like an ivory tower and more like an open space, more inclusive. Right now in 2026, the trend is that it's becoming ever more difficult for people to have access to university, and it's decreasing social mobility. So I hope that in the future this is going to be fixed.
I really want to see an EUI in 50 years which is more involved with the context and in particular with the city of Florence.
I think there's a space for today's university to shape the future if we manage to find a way to translate academic inputs into actionable policies.
What changes would you like to see at the EUI to make it even a stronger place for creating knowledge?
I think that the EUI should open itself to the rest of the world, as it has already done with the STG, also with other departments and with programs that engage also researchers from outside of the European Union.
I would like this diversity, be more, increase the number of people. They don't think alike and they go towards a different direction to, have more interesting and more useful debates and conferences.
I hope that it carries on the same feeling of international connections, people learning from each other, people unlearning things, people figuring out new ways to work as a university, new ways for the world to work, new ways of meeting global challenges, and I have good hopes for the EUI in 2076.
We didn't just ask questions, we became part of the answers. For those who will live in Europe in 2076, we leave you our questions. Did we get it right? This was our Europe. Now it's yours.